First at 9 this Sunday, the 23rd of February 2025. Cloaks and daggers. No threat to national security, clarifies the president. Claims an invisible hand could be at play, coordinating underworld attacks. Crime crackdown. 8 nabbed over murder of notorious underworld don Ganemulla Sanjeeva. Meanwhile, 5 suspects arrested in total over the Middenia triple murder. Mission impossible. 5% GDP growth rate unattainable, claim economic experts and industrialists. Urges caution against policy inconsistencies, discouraging FDIs. Smashing targets. Sri Lanka welcomes over 420,000 tourists so far this year. More than 175,000 arrivals recorded between the 1st to the 20th of February.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කට්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Drisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lanka media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now, in your top story tonight, 8 suspects have been nabbed over the murder of notorious underworld don Ganemulla Sanjeeva, with the suspect who allegedly acquired and provided the murder weapon also being among the arrested. Meanwhile, another suspect was arrested over the Middenia triple murder, bringing the total amount of suspects arrested in that regard to 5. So far this year, 17 shootings were reported, with 5 of them being reported within the last 6 days. On the 18th of February, a fatal shooting took place in Middenia, where the life of a 39-year-old man was claimed, along with the lives of his 2 children aged 6 and 9. The deceased 39-year-old male named Anravidana Gamage alias Kajja succumbed to his death on the spot, while his 6-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son were pronounced dead upon admission to hospital. As the gruesome incident grabbed national headlines, police investigations were swiftly initiated, with law enforcement being able to nab 5 suspects over the incident so far. The 5th suspect was arrested last evening in Telebuyaya Veerakatiya by officers attached to the Tangol Criminal Investigation Bureau. Following the Middenia triple murder on the 19th of February, infamous underworld leader Sanjeeva Kumara Samararatna alias Ganemulla Sanjeeva was gunned down at the Halsdorf Magistrates Court No. 5 by an assailant who entered the Magistrates Court complex disguised as a lawyer. According to latest updates pertaining to the investigation, 3 suspects were arrested yesterday, bringing the total number of suspects arrested so far over the fatal shooting to 8. Among the 3 suspects arrested yesterday is a 22-year-old male resident of Asgiriya Gampaha. Investigations have uncovered that this 22-year-old suspect had allegedly provided the murder weapon to the female suspect, who smuggled it into court concealed within a copy of the Code of Criminal Procedure. The 22-year-old suspect had done so under the instructions of another individual who is suspected to be a mastermind behind the murder of Ganemulla Sanjeeva. Furthermore, the 22-year-old suspect has revealed during interrogations that the revolver used to commit the murder was in his possession from the 14th to the 18th of February. According to a confession made by the suspect, the revolver was handed over to the female suspect late at night on the 18th of February at the Kaduvela Lodge, where the female suspect and the suspected male assailant allegedly resided the night before the murder. Meanwhile, the 2 other suspects arrested yesterday, aged 25 and 19, are suspected to have aided the male assailant and the female suspect to make their escape via a 3-wheeler. According to police sources, the 2 suspects arrested yesterday have aided the assailant to make his way from Kadulkala Nigambo to Ridivella Kochikade. Subsequently, the 2 suspects and the assailant rendezvoused with the female suspect at Ridivella Kochikade and made their way together to Waikal Nigambo. Subsequently, according to a confession made by the 2 suspects arrested yesterday, the assailant disembarked the 3-wheeler near the Waikal railway station. Later, the female suspect was dropped off at the Copra junction in Nigambo by the 2 suspects. The 3 suspects arrested yesterday were presented before the Colombo Additional Magistrate, who ordered the suspects to be detained for further investigations. Meanwhile, the 37-year-old police constable who possessed the van used by Ganemulla Sanjeeva's alleged assailant to escape has revealed that he took over the van from a former police officer who has escaped the island to evade arrest over drug trafficking charges. According to the confession made by the 37-year-old suspected police constable, he handed over the van to another accomplice to aid the escape of Ganemulla Sanjeeva's murderer. The suspected police constable claims that he handed over the van under the instructions of the former police officer evading arrest abroad. Upon further investigations, the police recovered 12 rounds of live ammunition compatible with a 12-gauge shotgun, along with a single round of live ammunition compatible with an M16 firearm. Along with the stock of ammunition, the police also confiscated a motor vehicle and a digital scale with traces of crystal methamphetamine on it.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance.
චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙන් වන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Don't waste time. Start your degree with pending A-level results this February with our partner universities. Call ACBT on 0117 699 499.
Less sugar, same great taste. From Melbourne.
Now, off the back of these horrific murders, President Anura Dissanayake assures that Sri Lanka's national security is not under threat. Speaking to media today, the head of state clarified that the ongoing killing spree is a result of a conflict between certain organized crime syndicates. Meanwhile, the president also hinted that investigations are currently underway to uncover whether an invisible hand is coordinating and directing these actions from behind the scenes. President Anura Dissanayake visited the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic this morning and invoked blessings. Subsequently, the president called on the chief prelate of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera. Afterwards, President Dissanayake called on the chief prelate of the Asgiriya chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thera. We haven't held a special exposition of the sacred tooth relic in almost 16 years. We requested permission from the chief prelates to hold this special exposition on behalf of the general public. A decision was taken to make the necessary preparations with the assistance of the governor of the central province, the Kandy district secretary, government officials and the Diyavada of the temple of the sacred tooth relic. Accordingly, this exposition will be held after the Sinhala and Tamil New Year.
වැඩකට සූදානම් කරන්න එකඟතාවයකට ආවා. ඔබතුමාගේ පළවෙනි අයවැය සම්බන්ධයෙන් යම් යම් විවේචන තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් රාජ්‍ය සේවකයෝ සහ අතුළු විවිධ කණ්ඩායම්. මම හිතන්නේ ලංකාවේ
State sector employees' salaries increased by a substantial amount through this budget. Some received their highest salaries in recent history. Nobody should be worried as we have presented a reasonable budget.
ඒස කවුරුවත් කනස්සල්ටපත් වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. තමත් හොඳ අයවැයක් ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙනවා.
මේ වෙනුවට රටපුරා යම් සහකාරී ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගැටලුකාරී තත්ත්වයක් තියෙනවා කියලා ප්‍රශ්න මේ මොකද මේ පාතාල ලෝකේ ක්‍රියාකාරකම්
ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව පිළිබඳව කිසිදු තර්ජනයක් නැහැ.
There is no threat to national security. The persisting situation is merely a conflict between certain organized crime syndicates. However, this does not pose a threat to national security or the security of the general public. These syndicates, which proliferated over time, have spread their reach into various fields and institutions. As a result, their connections have evolved into a destructive network. We are making a strong effort to suppress them, and we are confident that we can succeed in that endeavor. Organized crime proliferated island-wide with political patronage in the past. However, this protection no longer exists. On the other hand, we are still gathering more information in this regard and investigations are being conducted. There is also suspicion whether these are simply conflicts between organized crime syndicates or whether an invisible hand is at play coordinating and directing these actions from behind the scenes. We have already launched investigations to uncover the truth. Meanwhile, leader of the opposition Sajid Premadasa asserts that the opposition is ready to assist the government in curbing the proliferation of organized crime. Speaking at a public meeting today, the opposition leader claimed, however, that the government has no solution to address the root cause of the spree of murders reported island-wide. A public meeting of the Samagi Janabala Vegaya was held today in Derana under the patronage of party leader and leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa.
අද වන විට අපේ රටේ මහා ඝාතන රැල්ලක් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා.
A spree of murders have overtaken the country today. The underworld reigns supreme today. I recall certain ministers of the incumbent government boasting about how they could tutor their political rivals on national security. However, at the moment it seems that the government should take notes on national security. The law has been completely disregarded today. Cruel murderers have decided to take over law and order. This government has no solution to the proliferation of crime, even though they bragged about it before. As the opposition, we are committed to supporting the government in ending the spread of organized crime in the country. However, this government has no effective method in place to address this concern.
උපරිම සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන්න. නමුත් රජයට වැඩපිළිවෙලක් නැහැ.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
කැලණි වයර් කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. කැලණි Fire Shield Wire.
Malibu chocolate cream, inguru and lemon puff. Less sugar, same great taste. From Malibu.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Now let's take a look at what politicians across the political spectrum had to say about the recent spike in killings across Sri Lanka. Murders related to the underworld have been happening since way back. Failed politicians are behind these organized murders. The Middaniya murder victim met with a famous journalist a few days before his death. During the meeting, the now deceased man predicted his death. Killing someone along with his children is tragic. More information about these murders will be uncovered in the future. Now failed politicians are trying to suppress evidence.
සාක්ෂිවත් කරන්න කටයුතු කරමින් ඉන්නවා.
ආණ්ඩුව මේකත් පහුගිය ආණ්ඩුවටයි රාජපක්ෂවරුන්ටයි විපක්ෂයටයි.
The government should try to provide solutions to repress these issues without accusing the former governments, Rajapakshas and the opposition. Passing the ball over is this government's usual modus operandi. Do not be surprised if I am arrested within the next few days. They will try to use my arrest as bait to sweep this problem under the carpet. What's left for the government is to arrest me and make people forget this killing spree.
පුදුම වෙන්න එපා. මොකද ඒක පිට දාලා හරි මේක යට ගහ ගන්න පුළුවන්.
තාමත් පෙර අපරාධවල අපරාධකරු.
Criminals who committed crimes in the past are still at liberty. Why is that? That is because politicians who handled these crimes in the past have suppressed the evidence.
සාක්ෂි අතුරුදහන් කරලා.
මේ පොදුවේ නිකං අර වාචාලකමට
The government must not vaguely claim that politicians and previous governments are at fault to conceal their responsibility over the murders. Name the politicians and reveal the truth.
කවුද මේ දේශපාලඥයෝ නම් කරලා නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න.
දැන් මේ පොලිස් කොමිසම පිළිබඳවත්
Issues regarding the police commission emerged at yesterday's press conference. The government must resolve the problems regarding the police commission with the respective minister separately. They claimed a different version before the media. Is that the stance of the government? Are they trying to go down the same path as the Rajapakshas? If so, that is dangerous.
කියන තියරියට ඔය යන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ තියරිය භයානකයි.
In the meantime, Parliament heated up yesterday over a statement made by Deputy Minister of Vocational Education, Nalin Hevage, concerning a purported change made to SJB MP Rohini Kaviratna's name. In response, the opposition claimed that the MP concerned has not changed her name and demanded MP Nalin Hevage to withdraw his statement. Chief Government Whip Dr. Nalinda Jayati Sir responded consequently, claiming that MP Nalin Hevage's statement could be redacted from the Hansard reports if it offended MP Rohini Kaviratna. Subsequently, NPP MP Dr. Kaushalya Aryaratna, via a post on Facebook, claimed that she cannot condone the unparliamentary language used by her own party member towards a female opposition MP in Parliament. Meanwhile, today, MP Rohini Kaviratna refuted the claims made by MP Nalin Hevage on social media. Now, moving on to some economic-related updates, global economic cycle analyst Dr. Kenneth De Silva questions how the government intends to achieve a 5% GDP growth target, given that the framework agreed upon by the International Monetary Fund sets a goal of only 3% growth by 2028. Speaking on our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indiveri Amwatha, Dr. Silva expresses his view that the target is unattainable unless Sri Lanka has both fiscal and monetary sovereignty. Meanwhile, managing partner of BDO Partners, Sujiva Rajapaksa, claims that Sri Lanka has been granted a 3-year period to demonstrate financial discipline before resuming debt servicing. Also joining the program, co-founder and chairman of the Raigam Group of Companies, Dr. Ravi Liyanage warns that if policy inconsistencies persist as they have in the past, Sri Lanka will struggle to attract and retain both foreign direct investments and local investments.
The budget presented by the president, whether it really, as the government says, sets out to revive this ailing economy.
This budget is a unique budget. You take last 78 years, they didn't have this kind of restrictions because we are in a probationary period. IMF has given us 3 years period to us how are you going to be well disciplined. In that sense, I believe even President or the Minister of Finance would have had a time to make sure that you present this budget in such a way to one way fall in line with IMF expectations, the other way there's a manifesto and they have promised a lot of things for the people. So how are they going to balance? And especially I should say that there are 2 or 3 important parameters that they were supposed to have when you present the budget. One is about you need to increase government revenue. There's no way that you can compromise that. The number 2 is that you need to make sure that you control government expenditure. Especially there's a large amount of government officers, government servants. How are you going to control their expenses? And also make sure that you limit your borrowings. You can't simply borrow now. So these are the 3 parameters basically within which I believe that the finance minister has presented the budget.
Growth in my sense is GDP growth is nothing but your top line in your income statement. That is your revenue. As a country, if you take a national balance sheet and a national income statement, how do you achieve market share is the primary focus. Now here there is a contradiction in how you achieve this. The IMF restricts you categorically in the Annexure 2 of 2023 December, which they issued. That framework is the structure by which you have to go by. There is no deviation in that. No sooner you deviate from that, you are in trouble. But you can't get 5% growth. The IMF categorically says that till 2028, your GDP growth has to be 3%. Your nominal growth is 8%. That is inflation targeting is 5. Your GDP is 3. So your nominal growth has to be 8. And it's projected for 2028. That is hard-coded. You can't deviate. So government saying 5% GDP, there itself there is a contradiction now in how you're going to achieve that. Are we going to break away from the stringent criteria? Because if you're talking market share entails for you to generate a profit story. How do you become competitive to get this profit story and earn market share in the global market? Plus, to have a competitive product range, other imports that are coming into this country which are equally or in better standard than in Sri Lanka. Now, for the local entrepreneur, that's a huge challenge because to become competitive, there are key variables in your inputs. Those inputs in the cost of production are tied to monetary and fiscal policy. That's why I said you can't achieve 5% growth if you don't have monetary and fiscal sovereignty. That's why I'm worried about this IMF austerity framework that we have embraced so wholeheartedly. I think people have not understood the magnitude and the nuances of these wordings that have been incorporated into all the policy documents.
We have been listening to budget speeches. Every budget speech, you get lots and lots of proposals, but we have not seen the budgets have been come to a real implementation. The budget is something which I call as a concept document, right? We have to appeal the government. The number 1 is to please implement them. Whoever who are the ruler. I don't mind whether that is NPP or JVP or UNP or whatever. We are colorblind. We don't mind. Our job is to make the money and to contribute the GDP. Yes. But maintain the consistency. The consistency is very important. We are talking about FDIs, foreign direct investment and encouragement and all that sort of things. But to ensure that you have to maintain the consistency. That is the simple and very basic appeal and humble appeal from the rulers that I have to make.
Prime Minister Dr. Haruni Amarasuriya highlighted that special attention will be given to higher education of children with special needs under the supervision of the Ministry of Education. The Premier made this statement during a meeting held in Parliament yesterday with representatives from institutions advocating for the differently abled community. The meeting focused on strategies for enhancing educational opportunities for individuals with special needs. During the meeting, the representatives presented a comprehensive proposal developed in accordance with local and international standards. The proposal addressed several key areas, including strengthening the rights of people with special needs, improving the quality of education for the differently abled, and introducing higher education opportunities focused to their needs. Now, in your weather-related updates, issuing a warm weather advisory for the next 24 hours, the Natural Hazards Early Warning Center of the Department of Meteorology forecasts that the heat index or the temperature felt on the human body is expected to increase up to caution level in parts of the country. Accordingly, extreme weather patterns are expected in some places in the northern, north central, northwestern, western, Sabaragamu provinces and in the Galle and Matra districts. Per the advisory, under the caution level of temperature, fatigue is possible with prolonged exposure, and activity while continuing activity could result in heat cramps. Meanwhile, the Met Department expects slight rain showers in several areas in the northern, north central, eastern, Uva and central provinces and in the Hambantota district for the next few days. Welcome back. You're joining Ada Derana, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. Now, as per the latest reports of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority revealed that Sri Lanka has so far welcomed 175,436 tourists between the 1st to the 20th of February this year. The highest number of tourist arrivals were recorded between the 8th to the 14th of February, with 63,164 tourists visiting the island. India has so far remained at the top of the list with 25,293 tourists visiting the country, while the Russian Federation remains second with a record of 22,280 tourists visiting Sri Lanka. A significant number of tourist arrivals were also recorded from the United Kingdom, Germany, France and China. With the ambitious goal of attracting 3 million tourists this year, Sri Lanka has so far welcomed 428,197 tourists. In other business news, the Lanka rating agency reports that Sri Lanka's non-bank financial institutions sector is poised for robust growth driven by improved macroeconomic stability, rising credit demand and ongoing central bank-led consolidation efforts aimed at strengthening the sector's resilience. The agency stated that by the second quarter of the 2025 financial year, the sector had demonstrated notable asset growth, stronger profitability and improved asset quality, supported by a well-capitalized position. However, it also highlighted that a significant portion of the sector's deposits and borrowings are short-term, maturing in less than 12 months, which exposes institutions to liquidity and rollover risks. The Lanka Rating Agency's overall assessment suggests that while the sector is on a positive growth trajectory, vigilant credit risk management and adaptation to ongoing consolidation process will be critical for sustained stability. Now, taking you to some latest developments from Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that he is willing to step down from his position if it is ensured that Ukraine will be a member of NATO. Speaking at a press conference in Kiev, Zelensky said he would leave office immediately if necessary. He also expressed his desire for US President Donald Trump to be a true partner to Ukraine rather than serving as a mediator between Kiev and Moscow. Now in your sports news, Thurston College emerged victorious in the 62nd Battle of the Brothers 2025 cricket match against Isipatana College, winning by 10 wickets. Thurston College won the toss and elected to bowl first. Isipatana College ended their first innings scoring 203 runs. Thurston's Rachinta De Silva delivered an exceptional bowling performance, taking six wickets for 46 runs. In response, Thurston College declared their first innings at 257 for the loss of 9 wickets. Janita Rukshan top scored with 77 runs, while Isipatana's Menula Damkumbura claimed 5 wickets for 92 runs. Isipatana, starting their second innings with a 54-run deficit, struggled and were bowled out for just 104 runs. Chasing a modest target of 51 runs, Thurston College reached the required total without losing a wicket, securing a commanding victory in the 62nd Battle of the Brothers. With this win, Thurston College has now claimed the Battle of the Brothers title 7 times, while Isipatana College has won it 4 times. That's all the news we have for you tonight. For further updates, stay in touch with Ada Derana, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. Thank you. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.